Hello, my name is Eric Klopper and I'm a practicing attorney in Los Angeles. Now I'm making this video to introduce you to a good friend of mine, someone whom I have great respect for and who has made a lot of contributions to this movement. Now his name is Eliyahu Ungar-Sargon, and Eli came over to my house not long ago and filmed a conversation which not only helped heal any rift between Eli and me, but also hopefully serves as a guide for our movement as a whole to underscore the importance that we all need to put our differences aside and come together to do what is best to protect children from this type of violence. So anyways, enjoy the video that Eli made, and I will be in touch soon with a lot of other exciting updates. I've known of Eli for almost 10 years, but the only real interaction I had with him was following my 2018 play at Harvard.
I first became aware of Eric Klopper in the spring of 2018 in the lead up to his one-man play Sex and Circumcision, and my heart sank when I saw the play because it represented a kind of more brash and angry form of expression and activism. And Sex and Circumcision actually crossed a number of red lines for me. And so I wrote a full-on critique of Eric's play.
The play had both positive and negative reviews. His was exclusively negative. I immediately thought, oh, this is an opponent of mine and there's no common ground and we're gonna have to move forward without him.
It wasn't until the summer of 2022 at the Intact 2022 conference in Atlanta that we met in person, and things changed.
Eli, hey, Eric. Welcome. Good to see you.
Welcome to LA, and thank you for having me over.
Well, I'm happy to have you here, Eli, which may be surprising for some people to hear because at least publicly we have not had the most amicable history. But we're here because we have far more in common than we disagree on, and we are here to kind of clear the air.
Absolutely. And I wanted also to talk a little bit about how we changed the way we thought about each other, because I think that's like the really interesting part of the story that people might not know. So I think a lot of people know that we've had a kind of back and forth online where I've been very critical of your work and you've been critical of my approach, and something changed. And we actually first met in person in the airport at baggage claim in Atlanta.
Yes.
And I have to give you more credit for recognizing me than, we recognize each other at the same time, but you get more credit because I was wearing a massive N95.
Yes.
I was relying on my hearing and I recognized that voice. I was like, that's Eric Klopper. But you saw a guy roughly Ellie-shaped in an N95 and you knew it was me. So credit where credit is due.
Thank you.
But that's where we first met in person, and my expectations of who you were as a person were completely subverted by meeting you in person. And
well, this is probably a good thing considering where we were starting.
Yeah, absolutely. But I had this sense also that my impression of you from all of our back and forth online, first of all, was inaccurate and maybe not even relevant anymore. And we actually sat down and had a conversation at the conference, and that that suspicion was justified after that conversation. So maybe you can tell me a little bit from your perspective what changed in how you thought about me, and then we can talk a little bit about where we're going to go from here.
Well, I think the important thing is when you disagree with somebody is it's easy to latch on where you disagree, whereas certainly as I get older too, I think what's more important and what's more productive is where do you agree? Like, where's the common ground? And when we talk in person, because online it's like, okay, where's the conflict, right? But in person it's like, well, where can we build together? And at the end of the day, when we spoke together, we're actually very aligned in that we are opposed to genital mutilation. We are opposed to anti-Semitism. We're opposed to white nationalism. We're opposed to these
ideas and ideologies that promote violence and harm children, right? And,
Absolutely.
And so when we sit down and we talk about, oh, where do we agree? It's actually there's far more overlap than where we disagree. And, my thinking and approach has certainly changed with time as well. It's from being a young man to being an older man, right? I mean, we don't have to say specific ages.
Younger than me.
Yeah. Well, that's how time works as far as we're aware. But so I think that it is important for us, because we've both contributed to the movement in different ways, and we may have qualms with each other or had qualms, and that's fine, is to affirm our principles, which is, no, we are moving forward together to do what is most effective to protect the children. And I am aware that not all of my comments in a play that had 7-foot inflatable penises and inflatable love dolls and full frontal nudity and, emotional outbursts directed towards my father, not all of that was politically tactful or helpful. And
you were really holding back in that.
Yeah. That was the PG version. No. That was an expression of how I was feeling at the time, and I was angry, and that can manifest itself in comments that are actually detrimental to our shared goal of protecting children from genital mutilation.
Yeah, and I mean, my concern for the last 10 years, and I've been very public about this, has been a kind of lack of discipline in the movement around issues having to do with various forms of hate speech. Mm-hmm. And so when we met in Atlanta, and you said to me, Ellie, I really don't want to be intentionally or unintentionally anti-Semitic. It was a big kind of mind-blown moment for me, because it was like, well, then what are we talking about even? Because what's our beef about? Because honestly, that's all that's the bottom line for me. I heard those words from you, and I was like, oh, this guy's serious. And not only is he serious, he understands the harm and the potential harm that can come from this kind of speech and tolerating this kind of speech in the movement. So at that point, I was just like, okay, I guess Eric Klopper is based, and I don't know where that leaves us, but I think we can work together.
Yeah, and I'm excited to work with you. I think we can produce a lot of good, and it will make people feel better that the people who have put a lot on the line for this are working together to do what is most effective. I look forward to future works. This is just the beginning, but Ellie, to many good years ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you've spent any amount of time or effort in the fight against hate speech, especially in online spaces, it can be really easy to slip into a kind of jaded perspective. You're just constantly being bombarded by bad faith actors. But I think especially in these spaces, it's really important to leave the door open for people who in the past may not have been perfect, but have demonstrated a desire to do better going forward.
At the end of the day, I unequivocally denounce anti-Semitism, and we need to do that together as a movement, and we need to embrace Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, you name it. We need to embrace our religious friends and make them feel welcome to helping us protect all children.